To another one, because plans for the market, in fact, it might sound like a storyline from EastEnders, but at one of our councils it's led to a row over who makes decisions and whether you really get a say or not. Stockport wants to turn the existing market into a food hall, but two councillors from the ruling Liberal Democrats have resigned over the issue, claiming the public consultation was a sham. Our Greater Manchester political reporter Kevin Fitzpatrick has the details.
When is a consultation not a consultation?
Thanks, sweetheart.
It would appear when a council has recommended the plan for approval before the results are in. That's the claim of one now former exec member in Lib Dem run Stockport, who's resigned over the issue. The row centres on a controversial £1.4 million plan to revamp an historic market hall.
I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it. You don't treat people in that way, and the council officers, what it seemed, were completely shut down from any genuine engagement with residents. It was, you know, as I say, it was just a complete sham.
Councillor Macaulay's claims are based on this confidential report given to Stockport's executive team last week. In it, council officers make the case to move traders out of this building and turn it into a food outlet.
The draft report has a highlighted section where the public's views are to be added in later, but the recommendations are already written to proceed as planned.
The public are so behind the market to be improved and whatever, and we've had two consultations which they've got really behind, and for the council not to take that into account, I think is very shoddy on the council's part.
The report had been presented to the council's Lib Dem exec on Tuesday when Councillor Macaulay raised his concerns. On the Wednesday, Lib Dem leader Councillor Sue Derbyshire met with other political leaders in the town and said she wouldn't publish the report. A day later, the full council meeting went ahead without the report. Sue Derbyshire insists that was because the consultation results were missing, but Labour claim it was them who convinced her not to press ahead.
I'm not saying that the council intended for the consultation responses not to be considered by the scrutiny committee. All I am saying is that the draft report that we're talking about here, my understanding is that it would have been published the following day had the decision not been taken by the end of that meeting not to go ahead.
Councillor Macaulay resigned on Monday after being told he was being relieved of his duties as exec member for the thriving economy. This letter from leader Councillor Sue Derbyshire told him he would be paid sick leave for the next month if he went discreetly. He claims that was hush money.
I have no ongoing health issues that required me to take time off work. I carry on working, doing my main job at the moment. As I say, so essentially this money was to keep me quiet until after the election.
It's an accusation that Sue Derbyshire absolutely denies. In a statement, Stockport Council says the public consultation responses are currently being analysed. It says they'll be included in the final report for elected members who'll decide the market's future.
Well, Kevin asked the leader of Stockport Council, Sue Derbyshire, how the draft report could recommend changes before the results of the consultation were in.
Well, it shouldn't be. And that's why we asked for it to be pulled, because we thought it was being done the wrong way round. You know, the officers were doing their best to meet a timetable that had been set, which I accept was always too ambitious a timetable.
The traders, people in the public, thought their contributions were going to be considered, and then it emerges that they were only going to add the consultation results in afterwards.
Well, as far as I and the executive are concerned, their consultation, their responses must be included, and that's why the report was deficient as it stood.
Essentially, this row over the market consultation led to the resignation.
Councillor Macaulay had a number of reasons for resigning. I have to say that last week, apart from the aggression towards me, he was showing significant signs of confusion about a number of things. And it was for his health reasons that I offered to let him stand down. He then chose to resign. It was not initially over this issue.
You offered him leave until after the election. If he went discreetly, he says that's hush money.
I prefer to think of it as compassion. I was dealing with somebody who was clearly struggling to fulfil his role. He was showing signs of confusion. I thought that to publicly remove him from his role, and the discreetness was to protect him, to publicly remove him from his role and to remove, you know, not even to give him a month's sick leave, would be a very harsh thing to do.
So, Barbara, do you think this is dodgy or not?
It doesn't look right at all, does it? I mean, I don't know. This is not a story from my local area, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. I think two things about it, really. It's a pity if somebody's career in local government as an elected councillor and council cabinet member ends that way, with those sort of things being said about them. And secondly, I think it's really important, you know, in terms of the way the public feel about councils and consultations of this sort, that people listen to what the public think. People are very, very attached to their markets. I know that much. That looks like a great market. I don't know it very well. It's really a pity if this sort of squabble is the end of a consultation process.
Are public consultations taken seriously?
Well, the last one I remember was Lancashire County Council doing a consultation on the buses. And we know that the consultation was to end at the end of March, and they were terminating bus services in February. So, you know, I'm like Barbara, I'm not familiar with the ins and outs of that particular story, but on the face of it, something stinks. How could they possibly make recommendations prior to all the people writing in about their views? You know, the consultation comes first, and then you look at the consultation, if it's going to be not a sham consultation, and you take that on board, and that is the basis of your recommendations, not we want to turn it into a food hall and then we'll make everything fit in with it. I mean, it's probably cost them thousands to do this consultation, and I don't even understand what the rush is. Why, you know, the leader was talking about the timetabling being a problem.
Well, maybe that's why they've held it back. But anyway...